All right. Welcome to the Connection Circle. And Alyssa and I are here to talk about the title today is Unraveling Love. Plato's, and I'm looking at it because I want to make sure I get it right. Plato's soulmates to evolutionary bonds. Ooh, I like
Yes.
it.
Symposium on existential love and into evolutional biology with love. How has it evolved?
Yeah, so let's dig into that. I mean, everyone has like their modern day idea of what love is. So, what we want to do is kind of incorporate what the ancient philosophers believed about love and our modern day ideas of love. And so it would be like a dual perspective on love. It would be the scientific Darwin view of love, if you will, and like the humanistic viewpoint, and then the existential view on love based on Plato's, as you mentioned, Alyssa, Symposium, where it was kind of like this banquet dinner that he had, and he had all these different characters, if you will, participating in the conversation about existential love and what it means. And really, what he was getting down to is the question of soulmates.
Yep. And that symposium is pretty interesting. If anybody out there has ever heard it or wants to look it up, just even like reading through the notes or listening to somebody go through the basic points of that symposium, but a lot of them had, I want to say, disagreements about what love was. And all of their little inputs along the way kind of came together as this, what is this existential love? So, very interesting points that were brought up in the symposium, which we'll get into a little bit today.
Yes. So we'll dive a little bit into it because we really want to define how people are viewing love. Are they incorporating kind of both, viewpoints, or do they are they on one side or the other? And I think for me, it would definitely align with Plato's view of soulmates and his apparent view, if you will, is that we were created, humans were created as this. It's kind of odd, but if you know philosophy at all, as these human humans with two heads, four legs, four arms, and the gods were, back then, you have to remember, they believed in gods and different ideas, and the gods were nervous about this, this being, and split this being in half, and that created basically two souls, that one soul that was separated into two. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah,
Let me know if I'm saying that wrong.
there was four sets. So there was the male and female, the female and male, the female female, and the male male. And they split them because they saw this as being too powerful and not giving into their sacrifices anymore. And they were too intertwined with just themselves, not with their gods and with life and with everything else that they were supposed to be sacrificing in. Right.
Right.
So we split into these two entities, if you will, to create your soul's counterpart, your soul mate. So there's, that this even now today, people searching for their soulmate, their one true love in life. How do you feel about that now? Do you feel like there is still that one soulmate for everybody?
I mean, if you're asking me, I would say yes. I think that I definitely align with that concept, that maybe not in the sense of, the gods split us, but I think that, and maybe that's
But don't
true.
take that part so literal. That's not so. I don't think that is meant to be so literal. Just it's an insight on love, right?
Yeah. When you read the story, though, it can really take you to whole different places visually. If you have any kind of
Another realm.
imagination. However, I do believe in that there is a soulmate out there for us, and we won't go into it today, but I think we also have twin flames, so that's another topic.
Ooh.
And right. So the soulmate concept, aligning with Plato's idea of existential love. And so what's the counterpart to that? That would be the scientific viewpoint. And maybe did you look into that as well, Alyssa?
I did, but I kind of, through everything that I was kind of like reading on this topic, and I kind of just brought it back to that modern day. Like, what is your soulmate? What is your counterpart? What is it that you're looking for in love? What can you love? Like, love, a lot of the gods believe that the meaning of love was beauty, and it was the possession of what we did not yet have. And so is love supposed to be like our soulmate supposed to be a reflection, like a mirror of who we are? Yes, having the same values, the same morals, the same interests. Or is our soulmate meant to be our counterpart in which balances us, like that term that opposites attract, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are we meant to be the same or to complement each other and support each other in each other's differences? And I think that depends on maybe your personalities and your energies.
Yeah, so you're speaking to soulmates again, and that's certainly, I think, whenever we're having these discussions, it's all based on perception and perspective. And also, spirituality and religion can play a part in this, right? So I think, it depends on on what your beliefs are about souls and spiritual connections, soulmates, and it's an individual belief system, and it could be
Mhm.
based on that belief system, can be based on how you were raised. You could have been raised in a Christian environment, just maybe a Buddhist environment. So it really depends on what your belief system is. And today we're just kind of throwing out some ideas, philosophical ideas and ancient philosophy on what, Plato thought about love, his perspective in those times, those ancient times. And there was at the symposium, this banquet, there were a number of, quite famous philosophers and others that were participating in this conversation. And as you mentioned, they did have some conflict and opposing arguments. And the bottom line is, Plato just put out the fact that there are soulmates out there, and some of us believe that we're still searching for that, our other half. And to your point, are they, are they our yin? Are we yin and yang? It's our, opposite? Is it someone that we're going to align with entirely? What does that soulmate look like? And then the opposite of that, the dual perspective of love would be, more of an evolutionary perspective. And that goes back to the Darwin days where we are just, it's the, the survival of the fittest. And we love out of need to procreate and to,
Right.
what's that?
No, you were saying and two.
To kind of, we get into this evolutionary psychology perspective that we are finding a mate to extend our family, to maintain humanity, and which comes back to that evolutionary perspective, right? So we just we're there to find someone that we're compatible enough with to procreate and to maintain a family unit for our offspring, to continue the evolution of humanity, really. And it doesn't sound very, um, what do you want to say? Like romantic. It doesn't sound romantic.
Romantic.
Maybe we've all bought into the Cinderella story or something like that, where we just see it as, this romance story or movie. Maybe you can name a few. That's the one that comes to mind because that's what all of us girls grow up thinking about, right? So, we have this idea of soulmates, and maybe it's just something we've made up along the way. However, Plato did, create this concept a long time ago, centuries ago. So I don't know, maybe
Of
there's
love being the adaptive mechanism for basically natural selection, right? To carry on our genes, to reproduce the human species. But something like came to mind with that is not only are we looking to reproduce for the human species, there's also that part that comes back to the self, right? We're trying to we want to live forever as humans. And that could just be in memory, and it could be from down our bloodline, right? So part of that in this whole symposium led back to the self and that want to live forever, that innate need for survival, right? But also being carried on in memory, and that could be by having children. They're carrying your genes down to the next people. They're carrying your memory down. It's your legacy as a person for the time here that you did live.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially the same thing, right? It's just survival and reproduction of the human
Yeah.
species. I mean, basically, that's, and it's such an unromantic way of viewing it, but a lot of us do. We see love as a necessity in life versus, this romantic concept of this dreamy, Cinderella movie, and finding the soulmate. And I will tell you, I
Mhm.
have met couples and coached couples that I believe have come together to carry on the what we were just talking about, the human species, right? Carry on that lineage.
Yeah.
And then I've met couples that truly believe that they have met their soulmate and have been married
So
for.
that kind of leads into this path through the habits that you see within seeing these different couples, right? The healthy relationship versus this like toxic infatuation. How much of that do you see in differences in couples that are together for this innate goal of survival for the reproduction versus, hey, this is my soulmate, this is my love? Can you see and notice the differences in their relationships?
Absolutely. I think that there is a commitment, and that's what Plato talks about, is that commitment to love. So there's a difference between a commitment to your significant other versus a commitment to a family unit and your lineage. And I think that where I might say that that commitment to your partner is a stronger bond versus a commitment to the scientific, evolutionary psychology perspective. And
Yeah.
what I see with those two different couples is that, this commitment to my partner is such a greater bond between them, and such greater admiration and respect, and a a desire to lift each other up, and a desire to remain committed to each other, where I've seen with the other couples more of a desire to pass on, to create a new, have babies and have a family, and the commitment is different. It doesn't mean that it can't last. It just generally, there are struggles. There are struggles
It's make it
when
work.
to because
Yeah, make it work.
yes. So you're making it work for different reasons. And the reasons aren't because you're committed to your partner. The reasons are for an evolutionary perspective. And sometimes I will tell you that people don't recognize that. They don't have that self-awareness that that's what they've done. So you were talking about that innate need. They don't recognize that what they've done is use the word love or I love you to marry someone and be in a commitment with someone without that other perspective of, hey, you complete me, the
Mhm.
soulmate, the yin and yang, you complete me, and I have utter admiration and commitment to you and our union. And then you've got the other and I don't want to say
They're
that it's wrong.
one singular unit together, complementing each other, whether it's
Exactly.
the similarities or the difference, right?
Yes, and I think there's more
Yeah.
awareness around that with those couples. They actually have self-awareness and awareness around what kind of union that they have. Where with these other couples, they don't have a lot of that self-awareness. They've just been programmed to believe that's what you do. You get married and you have babies, and then you leave your inheritance to your babies, and your babies get married and then they have babies and all of that. So it's really a programming that I think that's a whole nother subject we can really delve into. The programming in
Oh
the
yeah.
matrix, so to speak, how we're all programmed to do that. And some people might look at maybe certain religions in that way, like Catholicism and LDS, how they're very much programmed to have babies and pass on their, and create that lineage. And but it goes beyond that. Those religions, right? It goes way, way, way back, and Roman days, and I mean. That was an important aspect for, say, a king and queen to have a child, especially a male child, to pass that lineage and to continue that, that, what do I want to say? I lost my words. Um,
That family blood, that
the
bloodline,
bloodline.
to keep their roles, basically. Yeah.
Yes.
Without an
And
heir, it would revert to somebody else, and they didn't want to let go of their hold of power and control.
right. So how do you in today's world, in today's, modern times, how do you find a partner that, wants kind of maybe a balance of both, right? Wants to
Mm-hmm.
create that balance of both, a true commitment to a partner, but also committing to family and you know creating that lineage. But how do you find a partner like that in today's modern world? And I think it comes back to, as you said earlier, to self. Really have the self-awareness to decipher and discern between what it is that you're looking for in a partner, what it is that you're willing to give to a partnership. So really defining those two, I think, is super important. And maybe if you can create some balance in that, I think that might be a lovely thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that what that completion in love in a relationship looks like is different for everybody. For one person, like you were talking about, it could be just that unification. Like we are one, right? We're one unit, which I think every marriage and long-term relationship, you need to be a unit. You need to come together. Everything is now I and we, right? Not you and me. However, to do that, some people need be based off of some personality trait or energy or type of person that they are. Like if you're super introverted, maybe you need somebody that is also that way. Maybe you need somebody that is the opposite, an extrovert, to complement each other and to help each other grow and strengthen your weaker areas. Not to say that anything is like weak or strong, but what you feel could be strengthened or what can strengthen the relationship as a whole, right? Um, so do opposites really attract in that? If we're talking about complementing each other in a relationship, do opposites really do attract?
So that's an interesting idea. I mean, you're really getting into personality traits and really going a little bit deeper, right? Into now we're taking it from what, that there is a concept of soulmates, and then really uncovering what that looks like in personality traits. And is there a ideal partner out there for you in terms of personality traits? But it goes beyond that. If you dig even, pull back even more of those layers, we're talking
Come
belief
on, let's go deeper.
systems. Yeah,
Yeah,
deep dive,
the
deep
same.
dive. We're talking belief
I
systems.
mean, yes, the values and the morals. I personally feel that those are like the absolute standard of being able to connect with somebody. Like if you don't have those core bases on the same page, that's a little bit of a rocky start. It might be very difficult to even get to the personality and energy traits without having the same core beliefs and values and morals. What do you think?
Well, I think that's true, but now we get back to the interesting question is, if there are differences in belief systems, right? And uh, worldview, whatever that looks like, if there are differences, does that mean they're not your soulmate? I
Not
mean,
necessarily. That I think that there would be a lot of willingness to sacrifice and compromise. And I mean, I almost don't like the whole compromise thing. I think that's a whole nother subject, sacrifice versus compromise in
Yes.
relationships. That's a deep dive in
Yes.
itself. But uh, that's a lot of coming together. But if two people really truly complement each other on so much and you can feel that on so many other levels, I think that you can work through some of those things, but you would still have to come to some sort of core belief together if
Right.
you're coming from two opposite ends.
I mean, I agree to some degree, right? So, but what if all of that's an illusion? What if our belief systems are
Okay.
really an illusion? You know, what if this,
Okay.
what if the belief systems, what if the belief
Okay.
system were what other people told us to believe, right? So if it's all an illusion, do we know we've met our soulmate or not? Can we strip that away to really feel it from here? To really feel it from our soul, our spirit, our heart, whatever you want to call it, from a divine space? Can you do that?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where, when you can have that full self awareness and strip away all of what has been trained and downloaded into our minds, our subconscious minds, and strip that away and just maybe set that aside for a moment and view this person as an
Mm-hmm.
energy, a soul, a loving being, and connect in that way first. And certainly life is real life, right? We do have to your point, Alyssa, there has to be at some point some agreement on some things, right? But if we can just set that aside and really connect on an energetic level, on a soulful level, and
Yes,
and hey, I mean, as the saying goes, love conquers all.
it does. And the point that you just made hit me on such a deep level because I really feel that that is what is missing in this modern day, this
Yes,
digital era, when we're talking about these this spiritual world and this evolutionary psychology and the existential love, and so much of today's world gets in the way of being able to really feel that true love and be able to truly love other people from all of these other layers that you're talking about. So if we were able to strip everything away down to our own soul's core and really stay in tune with ourselves, like you said, having that higher self of awareness of who we are and what we really want. And we talk about this so much about really knowing that within ourselves. So
yes,
we know what we're looking for and what we want to attract. And that is so hard to do in today's world. But if we can find a way to do that, think of how many more connections we can make on that level and how much quicker we're going to be able to find that one true love. Or maybe if you don't believe in the soulmate thing, like we're talking about, a great love for you in your
yes.
life.
A good
Yeah,
partner in life. Yes, I
a
love
good
that.
partner.
And it's so true.
That's
I
hard
mean,
to do though.
it
That's
is. It's hard
that
to.
can be real and raw.
It it is, and it takes practice. It takes practice, really, and this is what we talk about in almost every discussion that we have, and within the connection circle, is coming back to self. So when you are
Mhm.
able to strip that away from self and view yourself as pure love, pure energy,
You're
pure
right.
love, then you can mirror, to your point earlier, then you can mirror that. You can bring that back into your life. So it starts with self. as always. And then you can
Always.
attract that into your life. And then you can better discern and then better determine how to make those two lives come together in a more synergistic way. And you're not always going to have, agreements on everything because the world does get in the way, right?
Yeah.
But to define that compromise and to come together in agreement to support each other
Yeah.
and love each other.
And that comes back to what you asked earlier, like, how do you know that this is my soulmate? How do you know that? Right? And what we're talking about now, when you really strip that away and when you're really that in tune with yourself and putting out that energy that you want to attract, you're going to be able to feel it so much more, and it's going to be so much more clear to you who was supposed to be in your life and who was meant for you. And that goes for any sort of relationship. I know
Yes.
myself, I feel quite often with people that I meet that I just know that they're meant to be a friend or a person in my life, whether it's for this time or for a long time in the future. When you're really in tune with that and you are putting out everything that you want to attract, it's going to attract to you. You're a magnet for this. Your energy is one big magnet.
I agree. I love that. It's so true. I mean, it's like the boomerang effect. It just comes
Mm-hmm.
back to what you put out in the universe is going to come back to you.
Yes.
If you don't know yourself and you don't love yourself, then you're not putting that love out there in the right way. So make sure that you get in touch with self first. And, when we're doing our relationship coaching, you and I both know this, that we have to give our clients tools. We have to give them
Yes.
tools. Now, we're having these discussions and we're not really coaching you through those tools. But when we're coaching our couples and we're coaching within the connection circle, we're giving tools on how to navigate that, how to discern what's right for you, what's not right for you, how to come back to self-love, how to really love yourself, different practices of, we talked in the last webinar about looking in the mirror and being able to say, I love you. And, whatever other tools we can give our clients or within the connection circle to bring it back to self-love. And I would say to that in order to kind of define who you are and what you're looking for, write it down because words have
Yes.
power. And there's so much energy in creating that in, pen to paper. There's so much energy that comes from that because you know that it's coming from your heart, from your soul, and you're putting it on paper and really define that who you are as a person and a loving being and what you want to attract. So I think
Yeah. The
that is,
boomerang. Even your own words are the boomerang effect. Let's just say that now. Okay, it's powerful.
it is.
Whether you can or you can't, you are right. And I will just leave it at that.
Yes, absolutely. So, words to ponder, I think, Plato's soulmate or evolutionary bonds, just thoughts and ideas to ponder and think about what your worldview is, what your perspective is on love.
Let us know.
Yes, we
And
would love
until
to hear
next
some
time.
feedback.